What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here. We're back with another Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? Looking at the Chiefs at the Bills, Monday night, early game action. For this pod, we're going to cover the single game Showdown contest on Fanduel and Draftkings. I'm going to follow this up with a 2-game primetime breakdown for both of the games. And then Josh will be back later today to do a specific breakdown for the Dallas Arizona game that comes up next. All right, let's take a look at this game real quick. As always, we've got the Chiefs at the Bills. 55-point game total at the moment, with the Chiefs coming in as 5.5-point favorites. Here's some very important DVOA numbers to take from this game because I'm seeing some misunderstandings out there. Chiefs run defense, 28th in DVOA, 29th in yards allowed per carry, meaning they are very bad against the run. Versus the pass, they're actually number 2, second overall DVOA this season. They're very, very good. Oddly, if you look at the Bills, their running offense is one of the last ranked in the entire National Football League, 32nd overall DVOA. So, weakness versus weakness. Passing offense for the Bills is 4th overall in the league via DVOA. So essentially we have strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness defensively for the Bills. Defensively, on the flip side, Bills' run defense has been pretty bad. They're ranked 22nd overall. I think this might be a misconception. And their pass defense, equally bad, 24th overall. Actually, if you look at the power rankings model that we have, you'll see that the Bills have been one of the best teams this season to target because they've been very, very good, elite on offense, as you can see, and they've been actually very, very bad defensively, which is a surprise and not what we would expect based off of what they were last year. A couple of quick details here. Bills should get Tre'Davious White back for this game. He's an elite corner, but you know, a guy coming off an injury, when I think about it, and you're going to kind of put him on to Tyreek Hill, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to shut down Tyreek. I don't really buy that. But if anything, it's also important to note that Bills have been particularly vulnerable to the tight end. So if we need to have reason to favor Tyreek over Hill defensively, it's certainly the matchup points to a much, much better game for Kelsey than the Reek. Yeah, I love the comments already, guys. So, all right, let's dive in to this breakdown now. The first thing I want to talk about is just it looks like a really high-scoring game. And interestingly, again, there's no real spots defensively for the Bills that I would say they're really good at outside of their CB1. They've just been bad this year. They've been bad versus the run, bad versus the pass, which makes it interesting from a Clyde Edwards-Helaire perspective, as Helaire has kind of been a disappointment machine. Both of the running backs in this game, I mean, all the running backs are pretty sketchy in this game. So it's a little bit tricky to really start to think about who's going to have success. The one thing I do think is, number one, if I was a betting man, I think this spread should be maybe a little bit tighter. Bills are at home. So, you know, if I was a betting man, I would favor the Bills. I also like betting a team coming off a dud the way that Bills did in prime time last week. So to me, all of that points to kind of maybe even a little closer game than what this indicates. Now, the other thing to note is I have almost no way. How do you have a dud game here? I'm just trying to think of ways that this game could dud. I don't really see any real chance where the Chiefs offense doesn't at least get going somewhat. I don't see it. How do they not get going? They're going to get going. So the Bills, on the other hand, there is a path to a poor game for them, and it's mainly because Kansas City has an elite pass defense that has the possibility of shutting down the Bills' passing game. Kansas City traditionally very, very vulnerable to the run, but the Bills can't really run the football very well. So, you know, tough to really expect much from that. On the injury front, we have a couple of important, critical injuries in this game and one that we're waiting on. So let's get that out of the way right off the bat. On the injury front for the Chiefs, Sammy Watkins is out. What that means is Mecole Hardman is going to get a lot more snaps. Let's take a look at the matchup tool. I just want to see who got the snaps last week as Watkins came out of that game. Here we go. We saw Hardman get 71% of the snaps once in a game when Watkins went out. But also of interest last week for the Chiefs was that DeMarcus Robinson, this is one of our tools, the matchup tool, always use this. I use it. It's just a really easy reference for each game. It gives you snap counts from the previous week and then on the season for each player. So we could see here very clearly it was Hardman who got 71% of the snaps, but DeMarcus fucking Robinson, 69%. So they play different roles, but Robinson should not be forgotten at 3,300 people. Don't forget about him. Does he get a turd designation? Maybe. We'll get to that when we break down each game. On the Bills side, Singletary's rushing percentage snap count went down a little bit to TJ Yeldon. I do not think this will continue. Some of these numbers a little off, but Zach Moss out last week. Dawson Knox got hurt in the game, so Tyler Croft, the touchdown raider, will be in there for us. Yeah, Pringle is a super turd that could steal some work. There we go. So, all right, let's break down each game. Let me go to the cheat sheet. We're going to talk a little bit of Draftkings first. So let me actually crack open the Draftkings Showdown slate. Get those numbers in front of us. So getting into it, take a look at Josh's cheat sheet for this slate. Let me actually bring this up via, I had it open, and of course I don't. So let's just jump right into it over here. Let's start with the Kansas City side, and I'm going to talk about potential captains. We're going to talk about potential captains, guys. And here's the deal. Of course, we all want to play, and this is the Chiefs side. Of course, we all want to play Mahomes as our captain, but there is a massive opportunity cost on the Chiefs side of playing the quarterback as captain. Number one, Mahomes, not much of a running quarterback. He does spread the football around, but he's not much of a running quarterback in a traditional sense. He can run one in, and he does run them in for touchdowns, but he's not much of a runner, so he's going to do most of his damage with his arm. He's a very, obviously he's beyond special. He's arguably the best quarterback in the National Football League. I'd make an argument for Russell Wilson, but I kind of think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And he spreads the football around a lot. Now, look at the opportunity cost of playing him, though. This is a high-scoring affair, most likely. Right? We're going to get an explosion of fantasy points, probably. In that scenario, if you waste all of your bullets on Mahomes at the captain, who is very, very expensive, only leaves you 6,100, you've already got to start putting out turds in order to fit him. So I've got to now start really dealing with not even Hardman because he's priced up. You got to get your DeMarcus Robinson in here. You got Byron Pringle. You've got to get some garbage in your lineup to make it even hope to work. I don't like it. So for me, I think the first thing is don't go too crazy with Mahomes at captain. Let me get a look at projected ownership for Mahomes right now at captain. He's projected for 18% captain ownership. Allen and Mahomes will be the two highest owned captains on DraftKings here, according to our projection system. And to me, that's wrong. And it's not wrong because I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. I think they will. But number one, A, I'd like to get off the chalk. And B, it's almost always a wide receiver who comes through as the top captain option. But if you look at the pass catchers, they're going to be massively underowned compared to what they should be. So this is where I'm more interested in going. Now, all that said, of course, Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to smash in this game. It's just a question of, can I afford other great players in a lineup while paying up at captain for these guys? And you really can't. If you look at a lineup with Mahomes and Josh Allen, and you got nothing left. You've got nothing left. So Obviously, Mahomes is a candidate for captain, and Josh has him here as a 2-star confidence rating candidate. Josh Allen, same deal, tournament only, but only 3-star not because we don't think Josh Allen, he's going to smash in this game. Trust me, he's going to have a great game. But can I afford to put him in there and also get other studs in my lineup? The answer is probably no. All right, so some other candidates. Top candidate for KC for me is going to be Travis Kelce. Again, the matchup lines up the best. He's got a 100 rating. It's a 31st ranked defense versus tight ends. Everything lines up really well for Kelce in this game, and the Chiefs are going to have to be scoring. So he's a great captain candidate and just a great play overall on the slate. Second up is Tyreek Hill. He's also a really great potential play. Got the upside in every game. Not a volume guy per se, but with no Watkins, maybe an extra target or two. Maybe. Probably not. But maybe. Maybe not, but maybe. But Reek is always in play. He's got 40-point upside. He's just not always going to get there, so we want to get some captain exposure to him. We want to get some flex. I don't think you're going to be able to afford Kelce and Reek in the same lineup together. Certainly not with Mahomes, but I want you to make some lineups that have Kelce and Reek and no Mahomes. I've seen situations where the quarterback goes off to the point where, as great of a game he has because you rostered him, and this happened with Mahomes in a previous showdown, where he had an incredible night, but Kelce and Hill were both cheaper, and they both had very good nights, and actually wound up in the nuts together without Mahomes. So that kind of stuff can happen. I'm going to include Mecole Hardman on the list of potential captains. Really hard to get down to Demarcus Robinson. I like all pass catchers, and by the way, it's very frequently like that WR2 that gets you there. Look at what happened last weekend. You have to get exposure to all the wide receivers, especially from an explosive offense in your captain spot. Again, I'm almost always comfortable fading the quarterbacks in order to achieve this. So here's how it works. Last week, we loved Allen, right? Kyle Allen? Not Kyle Allen. Fucking Kareem Allen? I don't know. Can't remember his name. The primary wide receiver for the Chargers, right? We loved Allen. But he gets injured early in the game. Mike Williams comes in and ends up destroying the slate. So weird shit happens during these games. We always want that WR2 in there, WR3 even, because an injury happens. We've seen the game where Byron Pringle went off. Sometimes it's not who you expect that goes off, especially in a high-scoring affair like what I'm expecting to see tonight. So let's see if we've got, Mecole Hardman, absolutely captain viable. Wish his salary was a little lower, but we just saw in the matchups tool that Hardman is getting a lot of the Sammy Watkins snaps, as is Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson, though, isn't as high value of a wide receiver. Still need exposure to him, and he still could have a great game. I absolutely think he will get targets in this game as well. But Hardman has the ability to go off on a big play or two and actually break the slate. But the other beautiful thing about Hardman is he's cheap. And we like cheap guys because they allow you to do good things in your lineup. So if you get him in here, you got $8K to spend per position group. You know, you need one more cheapie. You need one more, and then we could start to just stud up like crazy here. And that's kind of how you would expect the slate to go. You know, who else do we want? Diggs, Kelce, Allen. So that's how you get a lot of studs into your lineup together. You got to go a little bit cheaper at the captain position. All right, for the flex, a lot of the same dynamics are in play for the flex position. Get my showdown sheet here. A lot of the same dynamics in play for the flex position for Kansas City. We talked about Kansas City potential captains just now. In the flex position on DraftKings, same group. I'm not going to, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like him a lot. I love going back to the number one running back after a dud game. Again, Bills are not an imposing matchup, and a lot of people are going to shy away from Hilaire because of the disappointment in an elite spot last week. That's always the best time to go back to a stud. They disappointed in an elite spot the previous week. Now no one wants to play him. That's when you go right back to that stud. Hilaire clearly has shown that he hasn't had the greatest red zone success rate this season, but let me tell you, who cares? He's the running back on a high-scoring team, and he does get touches in the red zone. So one of these games, he's going to go off for 2 touchdowns. Could be here. So definitely a low-key potential captain on Fanduel, on DraftKings, more so even on Fanduel, but on DraftKings for sure, and definitely a guy I kind of want to get into my flex regardless. I talked about most of the players on the Chiefs offense already. Butker is a great play. He's a great cash play. He's a guy that I think you basically have to have in your cash lineup because it's just a pay down option that's going to allow you to afford a lot of other things. And, Butker, hard to see him coming out of this game with less than, 12 points or something in that range, 8 to 12 points. That seems just like a likely scenario on a high scoring affair for Harrison Butker. Josh has identified a super turd here in Nick Keizer. I'm going to make a little. We're going to consult I want to consult a turd detector about Nick Keizer, who is the kind of third string tight end here for the Chiefs.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Yeah, to the no, hell to the no. To the no, no, no. Listen.
The turd detector doesn't even like Nick Keizer, but, if you're making 150, you can mess with that. All right, let's take a look at the Bills side of the football. And the big news that we're waiting for is John Brown. He was questionable early in the week, then he got a full practice in, and then he got a Q tag later in the week. This guy has been a guy that's been getting injured in game. He's got a knee issue. I think this is a very dangerous play because of the questionable tag, because of the late questionable tag, because we don't know. And there's an absolute chance of in-game injury in these situations. We've seen in-game injuries just ruining everybody and everything. It's been happening all year. Enough with it. We at this point should be anticipating in-game injuries. Like you'd almost have to think, yeah, it's going to happen. This guy's going to get hurt. Now I don't know how you anticipate in-game injuries, but like I borderline think you can anticipate an in-game injury for John Brown at this point. He's hurt at the beginning of the week. He's getting into practice. Then he regresses, gets a Q tag. It doesn't look good. But why am I saying that? Because Gaby Davis is good, and when Brown comes out of the game, Gabriel Davis becomes a real focal point, and so this is like one of the biggest, most important things on this whole slate, but definitely to pay attention to. Now, I want Davis exposure anyway. This is the number 4. This is really the number 3 wide receiver, and if you look at the role that Cole Beasley plays, he just becomes the number 2. If he's in the game, he's like the number 2. It's not like he's coming in and it's going to be Diggs and then Beasley and then a tight end and then no. They go right to Davis in the John Brown role, and if Diggs is being covered, which he will be aggressively, that pushes a lot of the targets, especially anything that's not short stuff that they send to Beasley's way, out to Davis. The Bills, remember, do not really throw much to the tight end outside of the end zone, and we'll talk about the tight end position too. They don't throw much to the tight end outside of in the red zone. Tyler Kroft, end zone raider. Remember that last week? Fucking scored 2 touchdowns, got the name end zone raider before the game. Anytime you get a nickname, got to play that guy. Now, Dawson Knox is out for this game, which means the end zone raider will be the primary guy. And again, he's more of a touchdown threat. We got to get a little exposure. But Gaby Davis, if John Brown is out, will be big. If John Brown plays, it's going to make it gross because we're going to have to make decisions. I'd have a rule on the domination station not to pair Brown with Davis because I think those two just don't work together. It's one or the other. But I would almost anticipate an in-game injury. So now that we've talked about the skill position players at wide receiver and tight end for the Bills, the other position group that we have to consider is the running back position. And I actually want to use a little tool here and kind of show you what Vegas expects. Devin Singletary. This is our prop finder tool over at DFS Army. You could click on prop finder. It's actually anybody can access this right here. You could click on the prop finder link up top on dfsarmy.com. This is one of the greatest tools you're ever going to see. It's fucking awesome. And if you're not using it, you're missing out. All right. So when I bring up Devin Singletary's name, over 51 and a half yards expectation. Under 12 and a half rushing attempts. And this is against a bad Kansas City run defense, by the way. Around 20 receiving yards. Over, so they're expecting more than, a few receptions. Let's say 3 or 4. Touchdown prop, not the greatest, plus 145, plus 130, plus 120. For running back, that gets us at about 40%. I actually think I might even, and this is a crazy high-scoring game. So with the Bills expected to score, 3 to 4 touchdowns, he's barely, he's in there at a 40% chance of getting one of them. That's not the best. Let's take a look at other running backs in this game. I like to, while we're here on the tool. All right, let's take a look at the difference between what we just saw for Singletary and for Hilaire. Hilaire, 72 and a half yards. Okay, a little bit better. A little better. Over 17 and a half rushing attempts. Major difference. Over 30 receiving yards. Big difference. Under 4.5, so about the same. Four reception expectation, maybe 3, about the same. Score touchdown, certainly better. And if you go to PointsBet, you'll get ripped off at minus 200. But on Fanduel and William Hill, looks like around minus 135-ish. So they're giving it about a 55% chance of a touchdown. Again, just better numbers than what we're seeing for Singletary, I think, understandably. Oh, my God. DraftKings plus 200 to score 2 touchdowns? Can you imagine if you bet this on DraftKings at plus 200 and you could have just gone over to FanDuel and gotten plus 450? So basically, DraftKings is only going to give you $200 if the guy scores twice on a $100 bet, and FanDuel will give you $450. I mean, come on, guys. Use this tool if you're going to bet props. Because it's crazy. All right. Again, FanDuel plus 2,400 for score 3, plus 750 for DraftKings. DraftKings, get your shit together, man. This is a fucking rip. All right, so there we go. Hilaire, better play. Singletary, a little sketchy. Moss is coming back for the Bills. Let's see what kind of numbers he's got. Not the plus 290 score touchdown. They're not giving us any sort of yardage or receptions prop. Let's see. Let's check Yeldon. I like to check all of the running backs. I assume he's got nothing. Yeah. So forget Yeldon. He's probably not going to play. I disagree actually with Josh's breakdown in the sense where he's worried about Yeldon a little more than I am. I'm not worried about Yeldon at all. Look great as a backup, outgain Singletary, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck. He's probably going to be inactive if you ask me. Or if he's active, I doubt he gets a snap. Yeldon has been with the Bills for long enough that they know who he is. All right, so at captain for Buffalo, obviously, again, Josh Allen, very exciting player. We love him. He's going to score a lot of points. He's certainly somebody I don't mind at captain. But again, the salary might be too restrictive when you 1.5 exit on DraftKings. On FanDuel, to be clear, the quarterbacks are by far and away the best captains. And as a matter of fact, I would borderline go 100% quarterback at the captain position on FanDuel. I won't use anything else. I'm just going to go with the quarterbacks and hope that it's right. So I just want to clarify the difference for me. Part of the reason why I'm not spending that much time on FanDuel is because just use the quarterback on FanDuel. There's no reason not to. I don't see any of the pass catchers on both of these teams that spread the football around outscoring these quarterbacks. So fuck it. I'm just going to do that on FanDuel. And on DraftKings, I'm not going to use the quarterbacks at all. That's going to be how I hedge this. All right, so Stephon Diggs, obviously a great play. He's the whole offense for the Bills right now. 16 target. In games when they have to throw, it's Diggs, Diggs, Diggs. He's a great play. He's probably the safest wide receiver play on the slate. There's really no negative. It's not the best matchup. Kansas City has elite cornerback play, and they have elite pass defense, as you saw. But I just think Diggs can beat that. Yeah, Montgomery's saying they like Moss for the goal line. So, again, we see basically just that Singletary is not. If Moss is in there, Singletary just loses a lot of the luster for me. That's mostly what it is. It's just not a sexy running game for the Bills, and I actually think it's Josh Allen who gets the goal line carries. So it's just not a sexy running game on the Bills at all. Whereas at least with Hilaire, he's the prime guy. He's the main guy. And he's got one more week before Le'Veon Bell comes in and steals his thunder. So he's going to want to make an impression. So Stephon Diggs, absolutely a candidate here. I'm going to say that Gaby Davis is a candidate if he starts. Look at the price, $7,200. That opens up everything. Again, if we don't mind using a kicker, well, if I here we go. If I include the Kansas City players, we get a hard man in here. You get a kicker in there, and now I can do whatever I want. And this is kind of how you want things to set up. You want to be able to, no matter what you do, you almost can't get both Mahomes and Allen in a lineup together. It's funny, but this is how we want to do it. Something like that. Mahomes, Kelsey, Davis, something along these lines. Love to get Allen and Mahomes in a lineup together, but in order to pull that off, you've basically got to do almost nothing else. It's really, really interesting, but you can't almost have anybody else on your team. So just keep that in mind as you're building these lineups. It's almost impossible to get Mahomes and Allen on a lineup. This one's okay. There you go. That's how you do it. But you'd have to put a Gabriel Davis in there. All right. Where was I? Yeah, Diggs, Davis. If John Brown plays, he's definitely a candidate as well. I just think he's going to get hurt in game probably. This guy's got the bulky knee. That's just what happens when it's too risky. Risky's fine, but essentially if you're MMEing this, and even if John Brown plays, again, you just can't go crazy with the ownership. Let's see what he's projected for. I don't know that I believe the projection on John Brown. Yeah, 30%. I don't even know if I believe it because that Q tag is going to scare some people off. So he's projected 30% right now with Davis. Let's see where he's coming in. I don't even find him. Areas at 1% ownership. So I think this is going to change. Number one, if Gabriel Davis is going to be 1% owned, I'm going to get way more exposure to him again because let's say he's not owned. I think that Brown could get in-game injured, and then this guy comes in and goes off. And even if he doesn't, I think Davis will get some touches. So very, very critical component of both of tonight's slates. Now, really quick for a cash build, I think the best approach, and looking at Josh's sheet as well, the best approach here might actually be to toss someone like Harrison Butker as your captain. He's locked in for points. And again, we want to squeeze as many studs into these lineups as possible in cash. So I'd like to get both Allen and Mahomes in my cash lineup, which again doesn't leave me much. I might actually go either with like a T-Bass or even a Demarcus Robinson here to try to squeeze in some more goodness. Get Kelsey in there, and then maybe just missed on Hardman. Well, we'll have to see. But something along these lines seems like the way to go in cash games where you pay down. I don't even mind something like Demarcus Robinson over here if it's cheap enough at the captain spot to fit all of this other stuff. Again, we saw the snap counts, and they do throw to him. I mean, he doesn't have high value targets, but they do throw to him when he's in the game. It's just not a great, he never puts up any number. So you got to be really careful with the guy, even with Watkins out. But he fills the role that Watkins is in, sort of the possession guy. That's what Watkins does. So I just look for a little bit more kind of action his way. He just sucks. That's part of the reason why we hate rostering him. He sucks. He dropped 2 touchdowns. Like, he's just terrible. It's hard for him to burn us. I probably won't do it. I probably want to go just Butker here. Or maybe even throw Hardman in there. Hardman, you know he's going to smash. He's like a showdown master, but it's just more expensive. All right, let's jump over to FanDuel real quick. Again, what is this? Oh, I opened the wrong one. Got the wrong one open here. Just taking a look at FanDuel, which still has not settled my outstanding balance from yesterday's game. You know, get your shit together, FanDuel. What the hell? Wait, look at this. Wait, look at this. It's still not settled. It's from last night. What the hell's going on? All right, anyway. On FanDuel, I'm just going to it's going to be very brief because here's the deal with FanDuel. Like I said, here's the deal with FanDuel. I'm going to treat it differently than DraftKings this week. And the way I'm going to treat it different, I'm not even going to mess with non-quarterback MVP lineups. Okay? I'm going to play it. Where's this game? We want KC Buffalo. Oh my goodness. It's already filling. Oh, you guys fucking dropped the ball, FanDuel. Contest's already filling on FanDuel. Real disappointment, guys. Real disappointment. But only a few hours left, so whatever. I'm only going to mess with Mahomes and Allen probably at MVP. The only reason not to, by the way, is probably because they're so expensive that I might just have a lineup or two that kind of fades both, kind of does something like this, you know, where you try to squeeze in a bunch of really good plays into the lineup. But let's see if there's any value here. You know, Gabriel Davis is a value play. That's Tyler Kroft, end zone raider. You know, you can, if you want to do a 2 quarterback lineup, you're going to need some stuff like that. But right here, if you take a look, not Cole Beasley, he's not a touchdown scorer. Remember, touchdowns are king on FanDuel. I think people don't understand that enough. Touchdowns are king. So, like, I could do Reek here and then, you know, put in someone like, not Beasley, but like a kicker. But the other option here would be, you know, like get Mahomes in there and then go down to another kicker or Gaby Davis or something like this. So FanDuel, simpler format. If I don't use, all right, let me clarify this. This is going to be my rule for FanDuel. So pay attention. If I don't have a quarterback at the MVP spot, I will not have a quarterback at all in that lineup. All or nothing. So I believe that the lineup that wins either has 1 or 2 quarterbacks in it or none. Now, that seems pretty obvious, but I'm adding in the fact that if the quarterback is in the lineup, he's going to be the top scorer. For that reason, I'll allow quarterback in the flex against the other quarterback at MVP, but if I have any kind of player as the MVP in the lineup. So the rule I'm going to make on the domination station here is going to be if Kelsey is MVP, then 0 of Allen or Mahomes in the flex. If Diggs is MVP, 0 Allen, Mahomes in the flex. And my assumption is that either the quarterback is the MVP or a lineup that wins the tournament doesn't have a quarterback in it because all the other position players went off and you couldn't afford a quarterback, and which, you know, with the grouping. I haven't made lineups yet, so I don't know about the affordability. And again, the Gabriel Davis question really, really does affect this. Both Gabriel Davis and Tyler Kroft, though, are my favorite turds on FanDuel. Tyler Kroft being my number 1 turd. Tyler Kroft got the number 1 turd rating. Therefore, he got that little song. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight's Showdown Breakdown. I will be back in about 20 minutes. I'm going to call it 2 o'clock Eastern, 30 minutes, to do a 2-game breakdown where we look at the 2 games from tonight side by side in this really, really awesome primetime contest. That's going to be DFS Army VIP only. But I love this 2-game contest. So much goodness going around. Love both of the games. It's just going to be a fun night of football. I'm like crazy excited about it. I want to make some lineups already. So get out there, get your Showdown lineups going. Oh, hold on. Alex is asking about Jeremy Pringle. Is his name Jeremy Pringle? What's Byron Pringle? I always get Jeremy Sprinkle and Byron Pringle mixed up. You know who's in the turd detector faces, though? One of the turds is Jeremy. Byron Pringle, one of the faces in the turd detector. Yeah, always play him. One lineup on DraftKings, just in case he repeats the miracle. All right, guys, that'll do it for the Where My Turds At Showdown Breakdown. Chiefs Bills, awesome game. Can't wait for it. Early today. Let's crush it. Again, I'll be back with a primetime 2-game breakdown. Give me a minute, half an hour, 2 o'clock. I'll post a link for DFS Army VIPs only in Slack for our members. Take care, everyone.